This is on repairing a 3-speed on the column shifter. Typically don't have those anymore. Everything's gone to an automatic, it seems like. But anyway, you ran across a deal on Craigslist. Doesn't matter if it's a Chevy, a Ford, or a Dodge. But if it's a 3 on the tree, chances are you got a really low gear rear end, meaning that it's going to take off like no tomorrow. And as long as it runs, it's kind of a desirable vehicle and fun to drive. So, but you get it halfway down the block, away from the guy's place after paying the man the cash, and it jams up and it doesn't go into second gear. Now what do you do? Now you go in the front seat, look around, see underneath there if you can find a crowbar so you can unplug the thing and get it fixed. Well, when you get it home, plan on taking the steering column out, which isn't that big a deal. This one's out. As you can see, it's gone. I got it in the garage. All you do is you pull the cotter pins off of those two things right there. Those are the shift linkage that goes down to the floor, or down to the transmission. And you want to check first and make sure that those are tight on the transmission, which these weren't, but it still wouldn't shift. And take the steering column out, which is now this piece laying here. I took the center section out. It just slides right out past the bearing. And then you've got another tube inside of here, and that's the main part of the shifter that comes through here on the bottom piece that's going to stick out there. And there's a couple pieces with some bushings in it. And it really just slides apart. It's dead easy to take apart. You got 3 screws to get the column out, and then there's a strap underneath, which is this piece, 2 bolts. And that whole thing slides right out. So this is the inside tube of that piece, and notice there's two arms on this. Those connect to the 2 links that go down to the transmission. This is the inside tube inside of the outside tube that goes down from your steering wheel. The other end, this is the shift end. This hole is where the end of your shift lever goes into. And that wallows out to the size of, oh, probably a dime. So I've taken and welded that hole up. I've got to trim it a little bit more. This is the shift lever itself. And that goes inside of there. And it just barely goes into it. And that's what moves this whole column up and down and changes your gears. And this tube is identical, at least in Dodge, to the one that's on an automatic transmission, but it only has one of these arms, this one. But take a look at them, the arms are the same. So if you need to, you could take one out of an automatic, and if it's still in decent shape, add this piece from your old worn out unit, put the cap on the bottom, the other part that's missing, and you can make this work again as long as it's the right length. The other wear piece that causes a problem, this is a sleeve. Of course, you recognize that it's right below the steering wheel itself. Your shift arm goes inside of here, and that's where it connects into the tube. And if this is all gummy in here, which this one is, it's not going to move on that tube, and it's not going to give you decent shifts. So all this needs to be cleaned up and then greased and put back in place. And of course this one has shown way too much wear. The hole is already wallowed out on this, so this has got to be either replaced or welded up. There is some pretty decent aluminum weld that you can actually use with a torch. And it will seal that up and make it like new again. And then check your tolerances and make sure that when you put the hole in, for this to go in, it's at the right depth, because it has to be pretty darn close. But once you get this fixed, get that hole fixed there, re-grease, clean these up, and make sure they're straight so that they're set up right. Put the column back in and get it tight, and then double check your linkage and make sure you set it according to the manual and neutral. Your 3-speed shifter should work like pretty close to new again. Good luck, folks. Hope you get them running.